modern war is a system failure, where the zombies are the hungry, desperate masses left behind when the global food grid collapses. If the missiles fly tomorrow, your survival depends less on your gear and more on the soil beneath your feet. So we're ranking the 5 strongest civilian refuges from weakest to best. By sentence 3, you'll know exactly which 5 countries offer the highest survival percentages based on fallout risk and resource depth. Most people assume superpowers are safe, but in a global exchange, being a primary target is a death sentence. Here's the reality of where you want to be when the world stops making sense. Our model assumes a high-intensity nuclear exchange in the Northern Hemisphere, with a complete collapse of global maritime shipping within 72 hours. Number 5. Switzerland. You likely expect the Swiss to be higher because of their legendary neutrality and fallout shelters. The proof is in their concrete. They have enough bunker space for every citizen, a feat no other nation on this list can claim. But look at the map. Switzerland is landlocked in the center of the most targeted continent on Earth. If the surrounding nations are hit, the environmental collapse and mass movement of desperate people will crash against those mountain borders with incredible force. You aren't just fighting radiation, you're fighting the physics of a continent in total liquidation. The friction here is import dependency. Switzerland produces less than 60% of its own food. When European rail networks become craters and the Rhine stops carrying barges, a surplus of chocolate and luxury watches won't keep you alive through a nuclear winter. A bunker is just a waiting room if there's no functioning economy outside its steel doors. While the mountainous terrain provides a natural fortress that makes invasion a nightmare, the lack of a coastline means there is no escape valve once the borders are choked by refugees or fallout. If you're living out now, secure a 1-year caloric reserve immediately. Don't wait for the government to announce border closures. By then, the grocery stores will be empty shells. A bunker without grain is just a tomb with better ventilation. Many people think the mountains offer total protection, but they actually trap local atmospheric pollutants. The better move is to seek high-altitude valleys with independent spring water, rather than relying on municipal systems that require external power and chemicals. Because Central European stability is so fragile during an exchange, survival percentages increase as you move toward the southern hemisphere where fallout plumes are less likely to concentrate and cross the equator. Number 4. Argentina. Argentina sits in a unique geographic sweet spot, far from primary northern targets. Prevailing winds generally keep northern and southern atmospheric loops separated, meaning the air stays cleaner for longer while the north smolders. The proof is in the soil. Argentina is a global breadbasket that can feed its population several times over, even if global trade dies tomorrow. They have the Pampas, some of the most fertile land on the planet, which provides a massive buffer against the starvation that would claim billions elsewhere. However, the hidden cost here is chronic internal instability. In a crisis, you won't be worrying about missiles, you'll be worrying about a total collapse of law and order as the currency fails and the central government loses its grip. History shows that when the Argentine peso wobbles, the streets heat up fast. The better play is staying far from Buenos Aires or any major provincial capital. You want to be in the agricultural heartland where the food is grown, not where it's fought over by hungry crowds. While their distance from the flashpoints in the South China Sea or Eastern Europe is a massive logistical shield, they suffer from a political infrastructure that may not survive the stress of global isolation. If you're looking at this region, test your resilience by securing physical assets, seeds, tools, and livestock that aren't tied to a local bank or a digital ledger. Most people try to hoard cash, but in a total system failure, a working tractor and a full grain silo are the only real currencies. If you're stuck in a city there now, find a rural connection today. Do not wait for the fuel subsidies to end. Instability on a landmass can turn violent quickly as resources dwindle, which makes an isolated island with its own permanent energy source a more viable pick than a volatile mainland.
Number 3. Iceland. Iceland is a fortress of volcanic rock in the middle of the North Atlantic. No one is wasting a high-yield warhead on Reykjavik when London, Paris, or Washington are still on the board. The proof of their resilience is geothermal energy. As long as the tectonic plates keep moving, the houses stay warm and the lights stay on without a single drop of foreign oil or coal. In a world where the power grid is a memory, Iceland remains a literal beacon of light. But isolation is a double-edged sword. Iceland's biggest bottleneck is its extreme dependency on imported manufactured parts and specialized medical supplies. You won't freeze to death, but you'll be living on a monotonous diet of cod and greenhouse-grown potatoes while waiting decades for a replacement tractor part or a simple antibiotic. The safer call is joining a tight-knit community that prioritizes traditional mechanical repair and blacksmithing over high-tech reliance. Their geothermal heating is a massive advantage that eliminates the need for a complex fuel supply chain, but the friction is the harsh, unforgiving climate that kills the unprepared. If you find yourself here, learn basic engine repair and greenhouses maintenance now. When the planes stop landing and the ships stop appearing on the horizon, the person who can fix a geothermal pump is the most valuable member of society. Don't just buy gear, buy the manuals on how to fix the gear. Most people assume the cold is the enemy, but the real enemy is the silence of a broken machine you don't know how to mend. While Iceland offers heat and safety from strikes, it lacks the agricultural scale for long-term population health and industrial diversity, leading us to a more temperate island retreat with deeper soil and better growing seasons.
Number 2. New Zealand. The world's wealthiest individuals buy land here for a reason. It is incredibly remote, has a forgiving climate, and produces massive food surpluses that could support millions more than its current population. The proof of its viability is the lack of strategic targets. It is thousands of miles from any likely flashpoint in Europe or Asia. If you want to survive the first year with your family's sanity intact, New Zealand is the gold standard for social stability and environmental purity. But even New Zealand has a catastrophic bottleneck. It is a lifeboat, and lifeboats fill up. The danger here is the potential for extreme social friction if a locked gate or fortress mentality takes hold among the locals against anyone perceived as an outsider. The better move is living on the South Island, away from the political centers of Wellington or the density of Auckland, where the terrain is rugged and the population is sparse. While they have the perfect mix of climate and isolation, they lack the industrial depth to manufacture complex goods or refine their own high-end fuels at scale. If you're there, build deep social capital with your neighbors now. In an island crisis, your security isn't your fence or your rifle. It's the people who will stand at the perimeter with you because they know you're one of them. Most people think they can hide in a luxury bunker, but the real survivors will be those integrated into small-town supply chains. If you're stuck in an urban center, start identifying local water sources that don't rely on the municipal grid. New Zealand is nearly perfect for a homesteading life, but it lacks the continent-scale resources and massive energy reserves of our top pick, making it more vulnerable to a total maritime blockade that could last for decades. Number 1. Australia. Australia is the top-ranked refuge because it is a continent-sized lifeboat. It has the isolation of New Zealand, but with massive internal resources that allow for true civilizational continuity. Australia is a net exporter of energy and food. It possesses the world's largest reserves of uranium, along with massive amounts of coal and natural gas, allowing it to maintain a high-functioning society while the rest of the world goes dark. The proof is in the scale. The Australian outback provides a depth of defense and a resource base that makes it virtually impossible for any foreign power to effectively occupy or even bother attacking. Australia beats New Zealand because of industrial capacity. While New Zealand is a beautiful homestead, Australia is a self-sustaining civilization. The vastness of the Great Southern Shield of the ocean, combined with unimaginable mineral wealth, creates a survival percentage that is unmatched. However, the catch is the extreme concentration of the population in coastal cities like Sydney and Melbourne. If you are there, you are still vulnerable to secondary effects like civil unrest, port blockades, or the breakdown of long-distance trucking. The top-tier move is relocating to a regional hub in Western Australia or the deep interior. You'll be thousands of miles from any potential strike zone, sitting on the world's most resilient supply of raw materials and energy. If you're in Australia now, ensure you have a plan for water security in the drier regions and a vehicle capable of moving your family inland fast. Australia doesn't just offer survival, it offers the chance to rebuild. Survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most difficult to reach and the most expensive to kill. Most people will spend the next year worrying about things they can't control. You need to focus on the things you can. If you want signal, subscribe. If you want noise, scroll. Tonight, take 10 minutes and look at your own map. If the world stopped importing goods tomorrow, does your specific county have enough food and energy to keep you alive for 12 months? Write your answer in the comments. I want to see who is living in a viable zone and who is in a death trap. Let's get to work.